Harry recently made his way back to London for his long-anticipated courtroom clash with Associated Newspapers Limited, the company behind the Daily Mail. What was meant to be a serious, composed moment, the kind that signals strength and resolve, quickly veered into something far less dignified. In fact, it began to feel less like a legal hearing and more like an unscripted stand-up routine. And somehow, Harry himself ended up stealing the show. Before any of the heavy legal arguments even began, his own attorney, David Sherborne, opened with what should have been the easiest question of the day, a complete softball. How would you like to be addressed in court? Harry answered without hesitation, saying it should be the same as last time. Confident. Straightforward, no problem, until Sherborne followed up with one simple clarification. And how was that? That's when everything stalled. Harry paused, hesitated, and then admitted, I can't remember. Yes, the same man who can recall events from nearly 2 decades ago in extraordinary detail suddenly blanked on how he was addressed during his last court appearance. The courtroom reaction was instant. Laughter rippled through the room. Not exactly the commanding entrance he likely envisioned. There stood a grown man, born into royalty, facing a judge, visibly unsure whether he was supposed to be addressed as Prince Harry, Sir, Your Royal Whatever, or just the Netflix guy. Eventually, his lawyer had to step in and clarify the obvious. He had previously been addressed as Prince Harry. Case closed. Or at least, moment saved. But the damage was already done. Credibility doesn't just vanish, it leaks. And this moment felt like a leak. Harry had over a year to prepare for this case. 12 months. 365 days. And the very first question, not from opposing counsel, not under pressure, completely tripped him up. It was the courtroom equivalent of failing the tutorial level in a video game. Once the laughter faded, Harry shifted tone entirely. He leaned into emotion. His voice reportedly wavered. His eyes appeared glossy. He told the court that the press had made Meghan's life unbearable, describing the experience as traumatic, ongoing, and deeply painful. A familiar refrain that sounded like a greatest hits compilation of personal suffering. Now pause for a moment. This is the same couple who attempted to trademark Sussex Royal, sold deeply personal stories to streaming platforms, and turned private family conflicts into global content. Yet suddenly, media attention is framed as intolerable and immoral. It's an interesting contradiction. Harry insisted he never believed his life should be treated as open season for profit, a claim that raised more than a few eyebrows, given how extensively his royal exit was monetized. Throughout his testimony, he repeatedly referenced Meghan's struggles, even though much of the legal case centers on events that occurred years before their relationship ever began. That disconnect left many observers wondering, was this legally relevant testimony, or an emotional appeal designed to generate public sympathy? At times, it sounded less like evidence and more like a plea for compassion. Critics argue that victimhood has become a recurring theme in the Sussex narrative. Broken relationships, the press. Personal conflicts, the press. Emotional distress, still the press. There is little room left for accountability or self-reflection, only an ever-present external villain. And the irony is difficult to ignore. Harry now appears genuinely surprised by the skepticism and even humor surrounding his courtroom performance. But when you forget your own title, grow emotional on the stand, contradict your public-facing media strategy, and attempt to win a lawsuit driven more by feelings than verifiable facts, reactions are inevitable. This is no longer just a legal battle. It's a test of credibility. What was meant to be a bold stand against tabloid culture quickly became a lesson in self-inflicted damage. Before the trial even found its footing, Harry had already weakened his own position. Rather than appearing as a fearless prince challenging injustice, he came across as a man trapped in a cycle of grievance, leaning on emotion and hoping sympathy would do the heavy lifting where evidence could not. And while legal experts caution that the case is far from resolved, one reality is already clear. Courtrooms decide verdicts, but public opinion moves faster. In this case, that verdict may already be forming.